On a misty night in the heart of the bustling metropolis of New Haven, an otherworldly event unfolded. Amidst the concrete jungle, a tiny spacecraft, shimmering with an iridescent glow, landed silently in a secluded park. Out stepped a frail and frightened alien girl, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. She was Lyra, a member of a peaceful race called the Elysian, who had traveled light years to seek refuge on Earth. Lyra's delicate frame and luminescent skin made her an instant target for curiosity and suspicion. Her hair, a soft silver that seemed to float around her like a halo, and her large, expressive violet eyes marked her as unmistakably alien. Her attire, a flowing garment woven from a fabric that caught and reflected light in a mesmerizing dance of colors, added to her ethereal appearance. She moved with a grace that belied her exhaustion, but it was clear she was in desperate need of help. Lyra's attempts to communicate with the local authorities were met with disbelief and derision. The first police officers she encountered thought she was part of an elaborate prank. They laughed at her pleas, dismissing her as a delusional girl in a convincing costume. Her alien language, a melodious and lilting series of sounds, was incomprehensible to them. Even when she tried to use gestures and drawings, she was met with skepticism and hostility. News of the alien girl spread rapidly. The media swarmed to cover what they assumed was a hoax. Reporters mocked her on live broadcasts, calling her everything from a publicity stunt to a lunatic. Crowds gathered to gawk at her, some out of genuine curiosity, others with the intent to harass. Lyra wandered the city, growing weaker each day, her hope fading with every scornful glance and harsh word. She found herself hiding in alleyways and abandoned buildings, trying to avoid the relentless attention. One evening, while huddled in an alleyway, Lyra encountered Dr. Samuel Hayes, a reclusive scientist with a penchant for studying extraterrestrial life. Samuel had always believed in the existence of otherworldly beings, but he had never expected to meet one in such dire straits. He approached Lyra cautiously, his heart aching at the sight of her distress. "Are you all right?" Samuel asked gently, extending a hand. Lyra looked up, her eyes shimmering with tears. Her luminescent skin was dull, and her once vibrant aura had dimmed. She could sense something different about this human. His eyes held a genuine concern, not the mocking curiosity she had grown accustomed to. "No one believes me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I need help, please." Samuel's resolve hardened. He knew he couldn't turn his back on her. "I believe you," he said firmly. "Come with me. We'll figure this out together." Samuel led Lyra to his modest apartment, a sanctuary filled with books, scientific equipment, and artifacts from his travels. The walls were adorned with maps of the stars and sketches of alien life forms he had theorized about. He provided her with food and a place to rest, and over the following days, they began to communicate more effectively. Using his knowledge of linguistics and technology, Samuel developed a rudimentary translation device. It wasn't perfect, but it allowed them to bridge the gap between their languages. Slowly, Lyra's story unfolded, revealing a tale of desperation and hope. She had escaped from her home planet, Illyria, which had been invaded by a ruthless species known as the Xanthar. The Xanthar sought to exploit Illyria's rich resources, enslaving its inhabitants. Lyra was one of the few who managed to flee, hoping to find allies on Earth who could help save her people. As Samuel listened, he felt a growing sense of urgency. He knew that Lyra's plight was not just her own, but a warning of a greater threat that could reach Earth. They needed to find a way to alert the world's leaders. But with the current disbelief surrounding Lyra, it seemed an insurmountable task. Within 3 weeks, he had accumulated so much information combined that he felt highly confident he could give a presentation that would make for a compelling argument in showing what she had been saying the whole time had indeed been true. He then went ahead cautiously contacting a group of people that shared his open-minded views on alien life that were all involved in an obscure ufology organization, to give them the initial facts regarding what had been discovered. He cited her unique knowledge of star systems that had not been previously verified by humankind, and foretelling lunar events on distant planets inside faraway galaxies that seemed to defy human beings' understanding of the universe. Additionally, explaining the basics of how elements unknown to the people of Earth had functioned and could be tested in a scientific lab to prove it. He asked the organization to relay the information to the public on the condition of anonymity, requesting both he and Lyra's names and their location not be disclosed. After a brief review by email, they at first reacted without any sign of enthusiasm, having not been convinced after hearing so many similar stories for many years by crackpot individuals. But then, the next day, a member suddenly recalled a star system that sounded eerily familiar to another one, reported during a story of an abducted prominent married couple that had given descriptions of things they had seen while traveling aboard a cosmic ship 60 years earlier. Amidst their subculture, the couple had been widely regarded among them to be one of the most legitimate of all recorded encounters of another kind. Since they'd be given ample evidence, they published the details in their weekly online newsletter, along with a disclaimer. Slowly, day by day, the set of statements made in that newsletter started trickling throughout the fields of science. At first, some of the world's most prominent astronomers, astrophysicists, biologists, and leading scholastic minds of the day considered the allegations listed within the website's content to be preposterous. Nearly all of them had immediately rejected them the world over, dismissing it as yet another hoax. However, a handful of academics in each field decided to put them to the test, expecting the results to disprove the claims. In one lab experiment, they attempted to recreate the effects of bending light around objects to make them undetectable by using an atomic structure known as element 115. Although the trial was limited in scope, the results left them astounded. Shortly after, initial research in the other categories showed supporting data, sending ripple effects through their respective scientific communities. Within a week, so many startling revelations were found indicating that Lyra's declarations might in fact be true that several heads of states started looking into the matter. It didn't take long before Samuel and herself became suspects of the anonymous source. Reporters and amateur sleuths soon found their location and began monitoring them. One night, as Lyra rested, Samuel sat by his desk, surrounded by papers and devices. He was deep in thought when he heard a noise outside. Peering through the curtains, he saw a group of figures approaching the apartment. They were government agents, no doubt tipped off by the constant surveillance and media frenzy. "Lyra, we need to go," Samuel said urgently, waking her gently. "They're coming for us." Lyra's eyes widened with fear, but she nodded, trusting Samuel completely. They grabbed a backpack filled with essential supplies and slipped out through the back door. The city streets were a maze of neon lights and shadows, and Samuel used his knowledge of New Haven's hidden routes to guide them to safety. They moved swiftly through narrow alleys and across rooftops, always one step ahead of their pursuers. The city's vibrant nightlife provided some cover, but the threat of capture loomed large. Finally, they reached an old, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. It was there that they planned their next move, knowing that time was running out. In the dimly lit warehouse, Samuel and Lyra caught their breath. "We can't keep running forever," Samuel said, determination in his voice. "We need to find a way to make them listen. We need to prove your story." Lyra nodded, her fear giving way to resolve. "I have faith in you, Samuel. Together, we'll find a way." As they huddled together, surrounded by the cold, empty space of the warehouse, a bond of trust and hope formed between them. Despite the overwhelming odds, they knew they had each other, and that was enough to keep fighting. Samuel and Lyra worked tirelessly. They knew they needed more than just a transmission device. They needed allies. Samuel contacted a few trusted colleagues, individuals who shared his belief in extraterrestrial life and were willing to help. Among them was Dr. Elena Martinez, a renowned physicist and cryptographer. She arrived at the warehouse within hours, equipped with her own array of scientific tools. When Samuel reached out to her, she was initially skeptical. However, after seeing the recordings of Lyra and hearing her story, she quickly grasped the gravity of the situation and began working on decoding the signals Lyra had brought from Illyria. The alien language, while complex, began to reveal patterns. Elena's expertise in cryptography allowed her to crack the code, and soon they had a clear understanding of the Xanthar's plans. It was worse than they had feared. Together they discovered that the Xanthar were not just a threat to Illyria, but to Earth as well. The Xanthar planned to expand their empire, and Earth was next in line. Elena managed to hack into a secure government network, broadcasting a live feed of Lyra's plea for help and the evidence of the Xanthar threat. The transmission went viral, reaching millions of people worldwide. Public opinion began to shift as the undeniable truth of Lyra's story spread. The video showed Lyra's genuine distress and the clear scientific proof of the Xanthar's existence and their plans. Despite the government's attempts to suppress the information, the evidence was too compelling. World leaders convened an emergency summit, and Samuel and Lyra were invited to speak. Lyra's eloquence and sincerity touched the hearts of many, and her warnings were finally heeded. The sight of her, a vulnerable being pleading for help, struck a chord with humanity's innate sense of justice and empathy. At the summit, Lyra detailed the Xanthar's ruthless conquest of Illyria. She described their advanced technology, their overwhelming numbers, and their merciless tactics. The leaders listened in stunned silence, their skepticism melting away in the face of undeniable truth. Samuel then presented the decoded signals and the strategic intelligence they had gathered. It was clear the Xanthar were coming, and Earth had little time to prepare. Nations put aside their differences, united by the common threat. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists from around the globe collaborated to develop new technologies and strategies to defend both Earth and Illyria from the Xanthar. Lyra shared Illyria's knowledge of the Xanthar's weaknesses, information that was crucial in developing Earth's defenses. With Lyra's guidance, they created advanced weapons, shields, and communication systems. The collaboration between human ingenuity and Elysian technology resulted in breakthroughs that would have been unimaginable just months before. As the Alliance geared up for the battle ahead, Samuel and Lyra shared a moment of quiet reflection. Despite the overwhelming odds, they had found hope and strength in each other. They had bridged the gap between their worlds, creating a bond that transcended species and distance. "Thank you," Lyra said softly, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You believed in me when no one else did." Samuel smiled, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're in this together, Lyra. We'll fight and we'll win." The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, a testament to the newfound bond between two worlds. And as the dawn broke, the first ships of the Xanthar invasion fleet appeared on the horizon, heralding the beginning of an epic battle for survival and freedom. The invasion began with a ferocity that shook the earth. Xanthar ships, sleek and ominous, descended from the sky, casting dark shadows over cities and towns. But humanity was ready. The combined forces of Earth's militaries, armed with new technologies and strategies, met the Xanthar head-on. The skies lit up with the fury of battle. Fighter jets and drones engaged the invaders in fierce dogfights. On the ground, soldiers and civilians alike fought bravely. Automated defense systems, powered by Elysian technology, intercepted Xanthar attacks, protecting vital infrastructure. In the command center, Lyra worked alongside human strategists, her intimate knowledge of Xanthar tactics proving invaluable. Samuel, now a key advisor to the Alliance, coordinated efforts from the front lines. His scientific expertise and calm demeanor under pressure inspired those around him. He and Elena monitored the battlefield, providing real-time intelligence and support. As the battle raged on, a crucial opportunity arose. Lyra identified a vulnerability in the Xanthar flagship, the heart of their invasion force. When their enemy craft launched, there was a brief window giving time to approach the head vessel's bay doors at an acute 62-degree angle while using a cloaking shield device, spurred on by an Element 115 component installed in their vehicles that could allow them to enter the ship unimpeded. Once inside, getting to the heart of the ship would be difficult, but some maintenance hatchways would allow them just enough space to crawl through the underbelly of the security doors to get within a few hallways of its headquarters. Then, one electromagnetic bomb could be planted and set to go off there, to effectively de-brain the entire ship, causing catastrophic effects throughout it and to all the dominions it had sent out. It was a risky move, but disabling the flagship could turn the tide of the battle. A strike team, composed of Earth's finest soldiers and led by Lyra and Samuel, prepared for the mission. They infiltrated the Xanthar flagship, navigating its labyrinthine corridors with a combination of stealth and sheer determination. The team faced fierce resistance, but their resolve never wavered. Lyra's knowledge of the ship's layout and Samuel's quick thinking guided them to the core. In a climactic showdown, they planted an EMP device at the heart of the flagship's control center. With seconds to spare, they fought their way out, escaping just as the device detonated. The flagship was disabled, its systems fried by the EMP blast. The Xanthar forces, now leaderless and disoriented, began to falter. The tide of the battle turned in favor of Earth and Illyria. Coordinated counterattacks pushed the Xanthar back, their invasion force crumbling under the relentless assault. Cheers erupted around the globe as the last of the Xanthar ships were driven away, retreating into the depths of space. The victory was hard-won and bittersweet. Many had sacrificed their lives, and the scars of battle would linger. But the alliance between Earth and Illyria had prevailed. Humanity had proven its resilience and its capacity for compassion and cooperation. In the aftermath, a sense of unity and hope spread across both worlds. Earth and Illyria began to rebuild, their shared experiences forging a lasting bond. Lyra, now a hero to both her people and humanity, continued to work alongside Samuel, Elena, and other leaders, ensuring that the alliance remained strong. As the stars shone brightly in the night sky, Samuel and Lyra stood together, gazing up at the cosmos. The journey had been arduous, but they had found each other and, through their unwavering belief and determination, had saved not just one world, but two. "We did it," Lyra whispered, her voice filled with wonder. Samuel nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "Yes, we did, together." And so, under the vast expanse of the universe, they looked forward to a future filled with endless possibilities, and the promise of peace and prosperity for all.